Hi, I'm George Comedy. I am a technology strategist. I am really interested in AI and have been researching it for the last 3 years, pretty much nonstop. And I am the co-host of the cybersecurity podcast, Bare Knuckles and Brass Tacks. And today I am here to tell you a story of the unraveling of reality and the creation of a new one. So much has been made of voice cloning and deepfake technology, such to the point that I believe we are now in the era of synthetic reality. But I wanted to place that in a larger context. So I'm old enough to remember the very earliest days of the internet, message boards, and a lot of warnings about chat rooms and fears that you were being groomed by predators. So your parents would really tell you, like, you can't trust anything that you see on the internet. You don't know who's there. And that was very much the case because you had these very abstracted usernames. And there was a sense that even though you might be conversing, you held everything at arm's length. And then we entered the social media era, where very much the opposite became true, that it was incumbent upon you for likes and shares to put your real identity out there, to put your picture in your profile, to put your avatar up there and share all of your life. And so I think when we think about the next context, we saw in 2016 how that same ecosystem could be used to great effect with disinformation, misinformation, to affect how people think about reality. And in 2019, we had the first largely covered attack in terms of voice cloning. So threat actors used a voice clone of a CEO of an energy company in the UK, and pretending to be the CEO of a parent company in Germany, asked the UK division CEO to transfer money very hurriedly to a Hungarian company. And thinking that they were listening to their very own CEO on the phone, they did. And it was to the tune of almost $250,000, $243,000 to be exact. And that was written up as a new cyber attack, right? And I was quoting from a Trend Micro blog about it. It was deepfake audio fraud as a new cyber attack. And this was right at the cusp of people warning about deepfake video. And so we began to enter this new wave of suspicion, very much like the first part of the internet, where it was like, well, even though they have a photo in their profile, maybe you really can't trust who that is, or are they a bot? And then that technology, as it always does, migrated out and into a different attack sphere. So instead of companies going after individuals. And in the 2021 timeframe, there were reports of prisoners running scams out of jails in Mexico, where they would call parents, I think it was in the US, but also in Mexico, and basically using OSINT from Instagram, they could fake as if they had kidnapped your child. They would have some garbled audio in the background to make it sound like somebody was screaming for help, make it sort of tune up the emotion about it, but it wasn't very clear. But they had enough details from the OSINT, like the child's name, their hair color, what they looked like, maybe their friends. And so we saw a danger of oversharing on the internet, right? And that was really just a phone scam masquerading as a deeper deception. And now we enter an era where it is fully faked, right? Where we have earlier this year warnings of what are called virtual kidnappings, where parents receive calls ostensibly from their children, and I can think of no horror greater. And that child sounds like they're in distress. And that is using voice models that are cloned off of very little audio, pulled mostly from your child's social media. So just a few seconds of an Instagram post or a Snapchat video, and that is enough to train those models to sound convincingly like your child. And so now you have local police departments warning parents of what are called virtual kidnapping scams. And so while it sounds like this is the cutting edge of technology that might be used by nation states against large enterprises, either for financial gain or for geopolitical purposes, This has just filtered down and become highly commoditized into crime against individual citizens. And now that takes us to the present. So this is 4 years later, 2023. So the span of 4 years from 2019 to 2023, we've gone from voice cloning being a novel technique to something that is common enough that local police departments need to warn parents about. And so in 2013 at DEF CON 31, we saw commoditized technology being offered for sale on Russian hacking forums, largely through Telegram, with pretty low price points that offered the ability to do real-time video deepfakes. So not a deepfake where I have pre-scripted, but a deepfake where I can be another person in real time, impersonating not only their voice, but their face and their facial expressions. So I could, using stolen credentials, log onto a Zoom as an individual and convincingly pretend to be that individual. And so now we are in that synthetic reality era, that era where it's very hard to believe what you see, and it's really hard to work against our evolutionary wiring. And while there's a lot of talk about AI to beat AI, what are the types of advanced technologies needed, watermarking this or detection algorithm that, there are some older technologies that we can fall back on. Coded passphrases have been around since encrypted communications were used during the Cold War on physical hardline telephones. And so I would encourage all of you, as part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, to think about passphrases or words you could use with your family. I would start with your older parents if you're a working professional, as senior citizens are the number one target of these phone scams and by and large not inured to this kind of deception. So using a simple passphrase or a word, something maybe from your shared memory that isn't really common in your posts, not your address, but using that as verification anytime you get on the phone, especially when financial matters are being discussed. And I would encourage you to use that with your children as well. This is just one small step that you could take today, but it will do a lot to ease concerns and just begin to teach good habits around understanding what is real and what is not.